Check out this episode of Disruption Nations brought to you by Matt Bertram with EWR Digital. Boom, and we're back. Disruption Nation, I'm your host, Taylor Waithofer. Cesar Rincon is in the hot seat today. This guy has got a lot going on. I'm excited to dive in. I've gotten to know him throughout, I don't know, has it been a year? Or how long have you been coming consistently to the events that we've been
about
hosting?
A year and a half.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't been to every single event,
sure,
but over the last year and a half or so.
Yeah, quite a few, you know, and so, quick intro, 300 homes in 3 years. It's probably
100 homes.
100 homes?
In about 3 years.
In about 3 years. Okay, got it. Founder, speaker, author, trainer. Author? What'd you write?
I wrote a book called 10 Secrets to Sales Success.
Nice.
Basically, it was a little, it's a bathroom reader, but it's full of, it's condensed a lot of information that I learned that helped me be successful in sales.
Fantastic, man. When did you write it?
2009.
Is it Amazon?
On Amazon, yep.
Got it. Yep. And the name again? 10 Secrets?
10 Secrets to Sales Success.
All right, well, there you go.
Yeah.
And then let's see, went to, he's a Sooner, went to University of Oklahoma. I was giving him a little bit of a hard time about that, but I was in Austin, he was there. And he's EXP, he's mentoring 4 agents, helping them to be at the top of their game. And what was your career production or last 12 months production, however you want to
last
say
12
it?
months was about 40 transactions, just under about 10 million in production last year. Yeah.
Gotcha. So,
and I hit Icon Award, which is it's a pretty big deal in our company.
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
So very cool. And then prior to real estate, hadn't been in real estate that long, obviously. So, ad agency, broadcast, TV, radio, audio, production, worked his way up to general manager from 2007 up until real estate license?
Yep.
Yeah.
So, prior to that, prior to real estate, I was in broadcasting and advertising, 20-year career in every capacity, from copywriter to producer to programming radio stations, producing concerts, all the way to general manager, lobbying in Congress on behalf of a broadcasters association. Almost did it all in that arena, except, I did do a few on air, but I was never an on-air personality.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Well, whatever, you're doing great right now, man.
Thank you. Yeah.
I was a little intimidated. We were going through some of his pre-show stuff, and I was like, holy cow, I didn't realize that your, background was as extensive as it is in broadcast and TV. So you can critique me at the end of this thing, because I'm sure you've seen more of this types of production that we've done. So, all right. Wife, 3 kids, and they're all in college. So 25 years marriage. Congratulations on that, sir. And I appreciate you being here. And Disruption Nation, by the way, it's a show and a platform and a podcast where we highlight their disrupting their space in a positive way. And so the things that we're going to dive into now, fastest way to the money. Okay, where the dollars at? How do you get them? New construction, learning sales. I don't care who you are. That's one of my favorite things when I hear people do a good job hitting on the point that like dentists are salespeople, like obviously lawyers or stuff. But it doesn't matter the craft or profession, but your sales. I was walking my kids this morning, and I, just down the street, a block away from the school, looked at the house, and I could see all the way through the living room. There was a mom, housewife, and a worker, and they were like, sizing up like the door that the butterfly doors that go in the backyard or whatever. She's having some remodeling done. Literally in 3 seconds, I could see that. I was like, sales,
Sales. Everything
sales. So tips, tricks there. And then treating clients like your best friend. So I think it's that's probably going to morph into managing relationships and stuff. And there's so much power in that. I think there's a lot of power, just like there is in the events that we were talking about a second ago. So that's the way to the money. We'll start with that's a hot topic, right? Because that is important. You need to have that, right, for freedom in life. So what's fast track, man?
Well,
fast track
so I learned this at a marketing conference about 10 years ago when I was in the process of writing my book, maybe 15 years ago. And the guy had a sign that says, fastest way to the cash, and ABM, always be marketing. And so that
Like
philosophy
that.
of fastest way to the cash is I think, phenomenal, because when people start in their real estate career, especially for new agents, right, you want to find the path of least resistance. Real estate has a really high turnover ratio. 80% or more of the agents who get a license don't renew their license. Yeah. There's a simple reason for that. They didn't make any money. If you're making money,
you're gonna
you
stay.
If you don't make money, you go find something else, right?
Yeah.
So I found that the fastest way to the cash is working with buyers, okay? Because when you're working with a buyer, they already have the money ready to buy, okay? Obviously a qualified buyer. But they have the money, and they're going to buy something, and they're going to buy it either with you or with somebody else probably in the next 60, 90 days. So within 30, 60, 90 days, you could have a paycheck if you can find a qualified buyer, okay? A listing, if you go find a listing, you're competing against the people who have been farming a certain area or previous relationship. If they already own a home, there's a possibility that they might even call the agent who sold them that home, right? So you have that threshold of competition. But if you can find a buyer, a cousin, friend, or through social media, any type of advertising, that can put a paycheck in your hand in 30, 60, 90 days. So I always say, start with buyers and work your way into listings. And then within that realm, fastest way to the cash, and at least for me, it's been a complete blessing, is to work with buyers, especially first-time home buyers, work with new construction, okay? Because what happens is, and when you're in the market and you're trying to find a client a resale house, mm-hmm. you're competing against everybody else.
Yeah.
Right? Multiple offers. A house that may or may not be in perfect shape. Right? They might like it, but it might be overpriced. It might need some work. You don't know what's going to happen until you actually show up and see the house. You see the house, you like it, you put an offer. They may or may not even respond to your offer. Believe it or not, Taylor, there's agents out there who don't respond. You send them an offer and they don't respond for 2, 3, 4, 5 days.
God, that's crazy.
so
they're not doing the fiduciary responsibility for their clients.
For the client, oh yeah.
Not even close.
We won't even talk about that.
That's awful.
But yeah, so what happens is, if you're working with a client, you take them to see a new construction home. Number one, it's beautifully decorated. The model homes are amazing. Right? You walk in and you're like, wow, I want to live here.
Yeah, immediately.
And then the house, it's kind of like going to a car dealership where, like, hey, I like that red one. It's available. It's right there. Okay, sure, sign for it. Cool. And you can, obviously, assuming that they're well qualified, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot less resistance from the part of the buyer. Because remember, we have a fiduciary duty to our buyers. Our job is to make their job, their life easy, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm like, well, we got a schedule, and then this client, well, they can't show the house till after 4 because, or they have to show it before 4 because the kids come home from school. Mm-hmm. But the person's at work, you can't schedule the showing, right? With a new construction home, model homes are open 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. most days, right? It's so much easier, and it's easier for the client, okay?
Yeah.
Because the client will have a more pleasant experience. Of course, the benefits of new construction are countless. You got a brand new house. I always tell people, would you rather have a brand new car or a used car? Would you rather have a brand new suit or a used suit? It's a no-brainer.
Every time, yeah.
Every time. You want something new.
Nice, shiny.
Especially with first-time home buyers, because the maintenance factor is minimal, right? You don't have to worry about replacing the roof in 3-5 years. You don't have to worry about the plumbing. You don't have to worry about anything. A new house typically will come with a reasonably good warranty. Yeah. And I always tell my clients, look, if you take care of the house will take care of you. I mean, don't clog the things with wipes and stuff like that will eventually mess up your plumbing. Yeah. But if you take care of your brand new house, just like a car, a car will last you 300,000 miles.
Yeah.
If you give it an oil change, if you change the brekes, if you change the tires,
all those easy things. Stuff.
And so a homeowner that buys a brand new house, mm-hmm. it's that simple. And in addition to that, many home builders, not all, but many home builders have incentives for closing costs and things like that. So it also lowers the barrier for a buyer to buy a house. I have people call me all the time. They say, hey, I heard I need $25,000 to buy a house. And I said, who told you that? Well, they said I need $25,000 because I need a down payment and I need closing costs. And I said, well, how about we cut that in half? And they're like, well, I have 12,000. I said, let's go buy your house. And 2 hours later, they're signing on a house.
That's awesome.
Because we got them closing costs covered, right? So many benefits. So that's what I always say, fastest way to the cash. Okay.
Speak to price point, because when you use the example, and I think it's a really good one. New car, used car. Everybody wants new. Why did they not do new? Because new costs more. So we're gonna go used. So new house, old house. Okay. Of course you want the new, right? But maybe they can't afford the new, right? But what you're saying with the incentives and stuff. I mean, what's the selling point? Is it the location? Is it a little bit further? Is that why it's cheaper, maybe? Or
yes.
Speak to that.
Yes. So I typically work with a lot of the big developers, the big communities where they're building 100, 200, 500 homes, right? And so there's usually inventory, but the drawback per se is the location, right? So typically tend to be on the outskirts of the greater Houston area where we are, right? There's not very many 200 home communities inside Beltway 8, right?
Right.
And but location is relative, right? Because what may be far for you is close for them.
Yeah.
Or it's convenient for them.
That's
true.
true.
I live here in Houston, in West Houston, by Memorial City Mall, and I literally drive everywhere, right? But the people who live in the Woodlands have no business being here, right? And the people who are in Katy and Fulshire, they don't come to this side of town,
right?
And that's okay. So location doesn't matter. Price of new homes versus resale is very comparable. It's not like a car where the brand new car is, let's say, 50,000 and the used one is 35.
Sure.
No, a new home is maybe, let's say 275, and a similar might be 250.
Yeah.
And if you put that into perspective, the benefit of a new roof and new air conditioning and all those things, you might as well buy the new home.
We're so lucky being in Houston to be able to even have this option in the real estate world, to be able to offer people stuff like that,
Yes, absolutely.
It's insane.
Houston, about a year and a half ago, I saw a statistic. I think we had the most or the second most new construction permits in the country.
Oh, yeah,
I think it was like 40 or 45,000 permits at that time. I know it slowed down a little bit, but definitely a huge opportunity for buyers and, of course, for us as realtors.
I was just thinking about two people in New York trying to have this conversation. It ain't happening, you know?
Yeah, sorry, guys. Well, come to Texas. Give me a call. We'll help you.
That's true. California, you're all moving over here anyway,
Yeah.
Okay, so that's 80% of his business. I mean, I love it, man. You're selling me on it. I mean, I have a lot of friends and people in the industry that new construction is a major part of what they do, and they're partnered up with builders, and and great for them. But anyways, but it's just it's a cool I guess message that you're able to provide for value for your people, and I think anybody can take that with them. Even if your business is 15% new home construction, just with a couple of those things, and you clip an extra 2 to 10 or whatever, extra transactions per year.
Right.
Gold.
Thank you.
All right, learning sales. How? How'd you learn? We were talking about it a little bit before the show, but
So sales is the secret. Everything is sales, right? This paint was sold by somebody. This sheetrock was sold by somebody. This microphone was sold. Everything is sales. It's the oldest profession.
It's true.
Some people think it's something else, but that's just a division of sales. Okay? And so literally everything has to be sold. And if you can learn the art of sales, and here's where, when I was going to get into sales, people think of salespeople because, or they think of salespeople in a negative way.
Used car salesman.
Used car salesman.
So did I. Never
Pushy person, never going to sell. Sales is a wonderful profession if you're doing it from a point of integrity.
Yep,
and if
straight up.
And if you're really doing what you're supposed to be doing, providing a benefit to the buyer, right? The person who sold this paint made this room look better.
Yeah.
Right? The person who sold this microphone made us sound better. Okay?
Yes.
So if you're doing it from a point of integrity of service, sales is the greatest profession.
Yeah.
Okay?
100%.
Now, for me, what
So much
changed
fun.
is many years ago, I started to learn sales, because when I got into sales, I used to work for the radio stations. I was a production director, produced commercials, but I wanted to make more money, and so I had a salary, and that was it. It was capped. So I'm like, hey, man, those guys, they're making more money than I'm making. They're driving nicer cars. They're working less hours. I want to do that. So I got into sales, and I quickly learned that it's not a random act. Sales is a logical and sequential process to come to the end result.
Yep.
And so I started studying sales. I attended a seminar by Brian Tracy. I started reading books, listening to audios. I spent tens of thousands of dollars on DVDs and audios and all those things. Now you get it for free on YouTube, right?
Yep.
But I spent thousands of dollars and thousands of hours listening to this and becoming a better salesperson. And in a short year and a half or so, I became the #1 or the MVP salesperson in my company at the time with no prior sales experience. And I did it because I learned the skills from somebody else. And that's the thing that really revolutionized. I learned 2 things. All skills are learnable.
Yeah.
So you can learn to cook, if you can learn to ride a bicycle and you can learn to use a computer, you can learn to sell, you can learn to film, you can learn to edit, you can do anything.
Yep.
Okay? And then the second thing is that anybody who's at the top of their game started at the bottom of the game.
That's true.
Anybody who's a top
Puts it in
real
perspective.
everybody who's a top real estate professional, at some point they weren't even in real estate.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like they were born with a gene that says, you're super real estate professional. No, you learn the skills,
Yep.
and then you put them into action. So definitely learn sales.
You said Brian Tracy. Who else did you say earlier?
Brian Tracy, Tom Hopkins,
Hopkins
Anthony
was the
Robbins, of course. Jeffrey Gitomer has a great book called The Sales Bible.
Okay.
I learned a lot of sales. I mean, Taylor, I used to go on sales calls when I was selling airtime, radio advertising.
Yep.
I'd go on a sales call to a car dealership, and they're like, oh, well, I'm going to think about it. Like, okay, well, let me know. And that was the end of it. And they never thought about it. Because the minute I walked out, they're on to something else. But when I read these books, and I listened to these audios, and they taught me how to address that issue. They say, well, I want to think about it. I say, you know what, I think that's a great idea to consider this, marketing campaign. I'm just curious, which part of the program are you most concerned about?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know the cost. Oh, okay, is cost your only concern?
And then, oh, well, no, it's a little bit of this and that.
You learn to have a further conversation to get to the bottom of it. And again, not being pushy, but to get to the benefit of helping them sell more cars at the time. So same thing here in sales with real estate, right? Clients will have certain preferences and things that they want, things that they need, and you just learn to work through it so you can get them what they really want. I have a very simple philosophy. If people call me, they're not calling me because they're looking for used tires. They're not calling me because they're looking for a refrigerator. They're not calling me because they're looking for a suit. They're calling me because they want to buy a house. And my job is to deliver on that.
Yep.
I don't want to disappoint them. They want to buy a house. I'm going to do everything in my power to help them buy a house. And most importantly, here's what I learned. Everybody can buy a house in 24 months. Okay? Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario.
All right, paint the picture.
No job,
paint the picture.
No job, no credit.
Okay. Not a good start. 24 months.
Get a job, get your 2 years of employment, and let's work on your credit between now and the next 2 years.
Done.
Everything can be solved, right?
Yeah.
I learned that from one of my mentors in EXP, Brent Gove. He says, everybody qualifies. Some might be ready right now, some might take 24 months, but we can get it done.
Yeah.
And so that's my philosophy. Everybody's going to buy.
Yeah.
And they're going to buy from somebody. It might as well be you.
May as well.
Yeah.
I love it. Sound. You made me think of a book changed my life, 2014, Grant Cardone, Closer's Survival Guide. Have you heard of that one? It handles a lot of objections, and it was like most books I've read, where the first 50% of the book was like mindset and setting it up and the reason behind, and a lot of kind of what we're talking about, which is surface level. Right. But then and then he got to it. He finally got to it. He kept hinting at it. He's like, I'm going to give you guys like 162 different closes. Right. He's got like 4 objection handlers for I want to think about it, and just any objection. I need to talk to the wife, like anything you could possibly think of. Right. And he goes through it. You know what I mean? And literally and does the role play with himself back and forth. Right. It's and then and then you have the book. And then you got them all, and it was like, wow, it was just cool.
And it's right there. It's like getting a recipe. Here's a funny thing. I just thought of this. Imagine, Wolfgang Puck, right? Yeah. World famous chef, right? Imagine if he gave you the recipe book.
Yeah.
It's right there. All you have to do is do it, right? Same thing with the books by Grant Cardone. I really actually haven't read any of his books, but they're great. I mean, he's great. Delivery is a little, rubs some people wrong. I'm one of those people.
Right.
But I get past that and I listen to the message.
Exactly.
Right? It's not the messenger, it's the message. And so the recipes are there for you to implement. Again, Wolfgang Puck, you get that book, you open a restaurant, basically using his recipes, and you can be successful.
Yeah.
It's right there.
It's right there. I love it.
Yep.
All right. So real quick, if anybody has any questions for you, how can they get a hold of you?
Best way, I guess, my personal email. I'll do my real estate email. It's Cesar, CESAR.Rincon@exprealty.com.
Or you can go to masterclasshouston.com because he is at most of the events that that we put on. Great guy to get connected with. Man, I'm excited that we're getting to do this today.
Thank you.
All right, this is going to be great. Okay, we're going to kind of close out on this last topic, but treating clients like your friends, and I'm going to open it up just with when I was I don't know, just growing up. I remember my godfather telling me, he's like, Taylor's like, he's an insurance guy, and he's like, and I mean, I don't even know what the hell that means. Like at 16, right. Is the sales, figure it all out later. But I just remember thinking it was the most unattractive thing that I wanted to grow up to be, because he was talking about like being friends with his clients and customers, and I didn't get it, because I'm like, I'm a kid, and you're looking at adults, and I'm like, I'm friends with kids. I'm not friend. Like it just, I couldn't see it, But obviously I got there, and it's cool, and I mean, I finally caught up with him, but. I also know that the difference between the transactional and relationship, type of way of doing business is it's so important, and it's easy to do and easy not to do. So, I mean, please, treating your clients like your best friends, because you can be nice to somebody,
right?
Not the same thing,
right?
So
yeah, there's a difference between being polite and being nice. And
being genuine,
and being genuinely liking the other person and being you. Okay, I see this, and I see it all the time, where the salesperson, whether it's real estate or whatever, there's a barrier between I'm over here and you're over there. That's the buyer's over there.
My wall's up here.
I'm over here. There's a wall, right?
There's that wall. Yeah, it's up.
And people feel that. Mm-hmm. People feel that. And so what I try to do, I had a coworker, rest in peace, at Univision, and he was the friendliest guy. He was always making people laugh, and he was a top salesperson. In fact, we were competing, right? We were the rivalry, right?
Yeah.
And I'm the sales guy with the learning all the books and all that stuff, and he's the street guy, barely speaks any English, and is a top producer. And then one day I thought about it, and I'm like, how does this guy do it? And I realized,
what's the secret sauce?
What's the secret sauce? And the secret sauce is that he always pat people on the back, and he always treated them like he knew them, like they were old friends. And here's one of the things about that all skills are learnable. You can reverse engineer anything.
Yeah.
Right. So I realized that this guy, everywhere he went with a smile, and he treated people like they were old friends. And so I was like, oh, maybe that's the secret, and it is. Because guess what? The knowledge, you can't be an encyclopedia. Nobody wants a real estate encyclopedia. They want somebody they feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
All the facts and figures can be figured out, but the connection, the connection with the potential buyer, with and of course it has to be genuine, right? You can't just fake it. You can't be like, oh my God, I love your shirt, and you're like, oh my God, I will never buy that. No, and people feel that, right? But if you can genuinely. Yesterday, I was talking to a new prospective clients. I met with them. They were telling me their story and all their situation and what led to where they are today, right? Yeah. And I told them stories of my stuff, my personal stories that my kids don't even know, because the opportunity hasn't presented itself to share those stories with them, right?
Just to be able to recognize that as an opportunity is huge, man.
Yeah, and so, we're talking, and I make them feel comfortable, and I make them feel, but I really care. It's not because like, okay, I'm going to make them feel comfortable because I want to sell them a house. No, I could care less if I sell them a house or not. But they call me because they want to buy a house, so I'll help them do that. But other than that, I'm just collecting friends.
Yeah.
And the people who referred me to them bought a house from me 3 years ago. And I haven't talked to them. I mean, I talk to them every once in a while. They'll call me about something with the taxes or escrow payment or something like that, and I'm happy to help them. And then all of a sudden they call me Sunday night saying, "Hey, my cousin's at my house here, talk to them," right? And we met last night. They applied last night.
Yeah.
They're probably going to buy a house today or tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, but it all comes down to caring about the other person, making them feel comfortable,
Yep.
and bringing down that barrier. Now, it doesn't mean you tell them they're your closest intimacies. Doesn't mean they have to be your absolute BFF now.
Sure.
But you got to make people feel comfortable.
That's right. And I think the best way to do that is by being genuine and being vulnerable and, looking for the opportunity, like you said, to share a story that you haven't even told your kids yet. And this is not like a me thing. This is like, I'm going to show you that I'm letting my guard down so I can show you where I'm coming from to be genuine, because I think this information is relatable for whatever the circumstance presents itself, in the conversation. And then, that leads to trust, and that's where the friendship comes from.
Well, and long term, one thing, Taylor, we talked about this off camera, but I want to make sure I highlight this, especially for newer agents, right? The turnover ratio is huge. Most people who buy a house, they say they were happy with their agent, but most of those same people don't use the same agent again.
You said the numbers, and it's real similar to what I heard at a conference
crazy.
recently. It's like 80% of people say that they're happy with their agent, and like 20% or 15% use that agent again down the road.
Correct.
It's awful.
Right. Well, and it's a combination of two things, right? Of three things. One, lack of remarketing to them.
Yeah, which I thought that's all that it was, but it's not. No.
Part of it is that by the time they were ready to do another transaction, that agent was out of business. Okay.
Well, okay. There's a percentage.
That's another percentage there, and then the other percentage is that they didn't really feel any special connection or anything like that.
And that's where you win, because and that was not highlighted in whoever I heard that stat from, recently. It was the follow-up, like you got to stay in front of them with the CRM or the emails and stuff. But you could bang them with emails 5 years in a row, but if the connection wasn't there, it's like, and they're ready to make a move again, like why,
Exactly.
So and story is it's huge, man, because and then the relative, like I love that, because I mean that's just a natural, organic spiderweb networking type of way to run your life and run business, because your story, it connected not only with them, but it resonated. They're like, oof, that's going to connect with so and so, and just because of that, you don't even know each other yet, but it was recognized that there's an opportunity for a connection to be established. It's huge, man.
And one thing about that, I believe each transaction has 20 transactions behind it. Okay? But they're not all going to come.
I like that.
Tomorrow.
No.
This particular transaction, I can clearly track it down. This lady called me from a Facebook ad. She called me. I sold her a home. She referred me to this other people, and these other people referred me to this guy.
Yeah.
To the cousin, right? But this same lady over here, she referred me to another coworker. No, I'm sorry. This one here referred me to another coworker. Who bought not one house, two houses, and they referred me to 3 or 4 more. So that one transaction has spiraled into now probably going on 8 or 9 transactions.
That's beautiful, man.
And that's just in 2 years.
Yeah.
So imagine the powerful effect. That's the thing that people sometimes, in real estate agents, guys, listen up. This is a long game. This is a long game. People think that it's just for today. If you're going to be in real estate, you have to think the long game, like you're with your events. You don't have an end date. You don't have an expiration date. You don't have, like, if I don't sell this many houses by this day, then I'm out.
Yeah.
You build and you build and you sell and you sell and you help, and eventually you can get the results that can be whatever you consider successful, right? And again, that's another measuring stick, right? Some people say 10 homes a year is good. Some people want to do 100.
Yep.
It's unlimited potential.
It's all perspective, and that's one of my favorite things about watching your career, because you are so new, in the grand scheme of things in the real estate industry and in the company that you sit, and 10 mil in the last 12 months. I mean, that's super impressive. It takes people sometimes a hell of a lot longer to get to where you have. So, couple quick questions before we wrap this up, man. It's been great, but what's your favorite restaurant in town, and what do you order there?
Oh my God. I don't have one anymore. Houston, we're so blessed with so many restaurants.
I know. I
have
a hard time answering that question
because
myself.
we've had a lot of success in real estate, then we go to all the great restaurants on a regular basis. And so I really don't have one that I would say, like, I want to go there. I mean, I like Steak 48. I like Mastro's. good steak. You can never go wrong with that.
That's true.
You know, a restaurant I want to go back to, I haven't been in a while, but they have a great key lime pie. It's Wheezy's Table off of San Felipe. I was there for luncheon recently, and fell in love with the key lime pie, so I need to go back and get a full slice.
Check out Wheezy's. All right, what's your dream vacation or maybe the best trip you've ever been on? Destination?
You know, beach vacations. I love the beach. You know, Hawaii, anything in the Caribbean. We're just on a cruise recently. We're going on a cruise in December.
I know. I was loving his social media pictures when he was on that cruise.
Very blessed. And by the way,
I was I'm jealous.
Yes, well, you know, I had a great year last year and had many opportunities to travel. Like they kind of fell into my lap and took advantage of them. Definitely beach vacations are great. Had a chance to go to Israel last summer. And,
that's cool.
And that was really cool. It wasn't a place that was necessarily on my bucket list, but the family, on my wife's side of the family, we had a wedding and to attend, and so we went, and I loved it. It was really cool. It was a really great experience to go to Israel.
Fantastic. Dream car?
Dream car. You know what? I like a red Ferrari 458. But I don't know if I'll fit in it. You know, I'm about 40 pounds from fitting in it. Ferrari 458. I mean, if I had all the money, I would probably get a Ferrari 458. But you know, I'm a pretty practical guy. So, and I'm not a flashy, show-off kind of person. So, you know, and again, that comes to the mindset, right? What do you see yourself accomplishing? But if I had, you know, you say, hey, we're going shopping today. Which one do you want?
Yeah, money's no object.
Red 458.
That would be the one.
Yep.
Beautiful, man. What's your favorite kind of music?
Rock music. I'm a musician. I play the drums. My favorite band is my band. RNCN. Look it up on iTunes and Spotify and everything else. RNCN.
Yeah, as I say, drop that again. RNCN.
Yes, we just cut an album last year, and we're going to cut an album later this year again.
Rockin' Realtor. Love it, man. All right, favorite book?
Favorite book?
Or most recent book
other than my own book, 10 Secrets to Sales Success, of course. I would have to say How to Master, like, you know, there's many great books. There's two books that I really, really, really like. One is Tom Hopkins, How to Master the Art of Selling.
Okay.
And Tom Hopkins came from real estate, right? All these people who write books on sales come from different professions. So Tom specifically came from real estate. I read it when I was in broadcasting. Okay. But it was fantastic, How to Master the Art of Selling. Another book that I really like for selling, and I don't read fiction, I only read business books, is a book, it's an old book by a guy by the name of Frank Betcher. And it's called How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Sales. And I highly recommend that everybody read that book. I try to read it at least once a year because in sales we all have highs and lows. You know, we all have streaks. We all have what do you call it in baseball?
Rut?
A rut, or what do you call it when they're not? Dips. Yeah, dips or yeah, whatever.
I know what you're talking about. I can't
like,
think of it.
You know, he struck out. You know, he hasn't had a hit in 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, slump. That's it.
That's it.
In sales, we all have streaks and we all have slumps. And so this book, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Sales, kind of puts everything in perspective and kind of reboots, you know. So I highly recommend that book.
Love it, man. And last question, what's the best advice you ever got and who gave it to you?
So when I was working at the radio stations, I was the producer and I had to deal with the sales team, right? Because whatever they sold, I had to get it on the air. So there was a sales manager, Domingo Lopez, and he moved on to another market, to El Paso. I moved to sales. So he didn't even know I had moved to sales. So one day he calls randomly a certain extension number of an old salesperson. Okay. And I answer the phone because that was my new extension. It's like, hey, what are you doing there? Why are you answering something? Hey, Domingo, I actually moved to sales. And, you know, I told him, oh, this guy, they changed extensions, whatever. But, hey, by the way, do you have any advice for me? And here's what he told me. He said, put on blinders like a horse, like a racehorse, and run your own race.
Best advice ever.
Run your own race.
I love that shit.
Don't look left. Don't look right. Just run your own race. Run your best. Because in sales, you're going to be distracted. You're going to see, especially, and that was 20 years ago, literally. In August, it'll be 20 years that I got that advice. Especially now in social media. You feel worthless, right? Because everybody has beautiful pictures, and everybody only posts about their closings, but they don't post about their struggles. They don't post about their struggles, right? So you're always comparing yourself to everybody else.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that, you can't be driving your car looking both ways. You got to be looking ahead. Okay.
Yeah.
So put on blinders like a racehorse. Run your own race. Don't worry what the other guy is doing. Don't worry if they're selling 5 homes or they're selling 50 homes. You have your goal and you run your race, and that's it.
Easy message, hard to learn deep on a deeper level. You know, my sons, I tell them all the time, focus on you, and they're like always complaining about the other one, and I'm like, that's all you ever talk about is the other one. You know, get out of here with that. But yeah, that's it. You know, focus on you, because I mean, if you're paying attention to anything other than what you got going on, then that's hindering you.
Correct.
You know, and where the hell you want to go.
Right. Yeah.
And then you're spending more time complaining, energy on talking about why you're not getting to where you want to go.
Well,
anyway, respect.
And the thing is this. Look, and I'll share a story right now. I saw another realtor who I'm friends with, and he posted like, "Hey, I just bought my second investment property and everything. Congratulations! I think that's great." That's what he's doing. I'm doing other things, right? He's not doing what I'm doing. I'm not doing what he's doing, and that's just how it works, right? But if I now say, "Oh man, I gotta catch up to this guy," because he's
later with keeping up with the Joneses,
he doesn't have
man.
kids. He's not married. Different world, different.
Sure.
And so you can never compare yourself because the ingredients are never the same, right?
Makes sense.
Everybody has different situations. Right now, family health-wise, we're going through a challenging time with one of my brothers, but we're sticking through it. So while somebody's over here on a cruise, I'm over here helping my brother, right? So everybody's situation is different. Never compare yourself to anybody else. Just run your race and do your best every day.
Yeah, 100%. Hope your brother recovers or
Thank you, sir. Yes,
gets better.
Absolutely.
Be strong for him, man. That's important. That's all you can do. All right, Cesar, thank you for being here, man.
My pleasure, buddy. Thank you for having me and everything you do, man. It's really fantastic.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. It means a lot, for sure. Disruption Nation, give us a like, subscribe, click the bell if there is one, all that good stuff. We hope to see you at one of our events. The next one, masterclasshouston.com. We update that pretty regularly, so depending on when you see this, it'll still be tried and true. And that's pretty much all I got. We'll see you. We drop these on a weekly basis, and we'll see you on the next episode. So, Cesar, thanks again, and we'll see y'all later. Peace.